in case I want to leave and I forgot my please do remind me. I have tendency to forget things. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Good morning. Can we start? Okay. Okay. I think we can commence it now. Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tutor Paul Chife, and you're welcome to this maiden session of Prepclass Jam tutorial. Today we'll be looking at a very important topic, and we're looking at literature. Okay, and before we go on, I'd like to intimate us with the necessary things we need to know before we can say we want to sit for a JAMB exam. Now, the first thing you need to know is that you need to have read the text, the literary text that are recommended for this particular examination. As we all know, the literature examination is modeled after a 5-year syllabus. I beg your pardon. And then the syllabus for this particular session commenced from year 2021 to 2025. And so I want to believe that a good number of us have read our texts, particularly the ones that are, for the 3 genres, namely poetry, prose, and drama. And for poetry, in fact, for all the 3 genres, we know that it is sectioned into 2 particular categories. And we have the African and the non-African texts. Okay? For poetry, we can talk about works like Black Woman by Leopold Sedar Senghor. Okay? We can talk about the range of others, and then for the European or the non-African literatures, we can talk about The Caged Bird by Maya Angelou. We can talk about Alfred. We can talk about Journey of the Magi. Okay, I nearly forgot that. Now, without further ado, without wasting our time, I want us to look at certain questions which I've highlighted for the purpose of this class. We won't be able to look at much today because of time restraints. Today, we are not going to spend much of our time. Today's session is going to elapse for 30 minutes, and so I promise I won't waste our time. Okay, for the sake of today's class, we are going to look at the literary terms, as you all know, and then some figure of speech. Okay, but before I go into that, I would like us to know that the JAMB question for literature is 40. Every other question likewise are 40, except for the English language, which is 60 questions. So we need to be time conscious. Okay, so we need to consider the fact that the entire exam is for 2 hours, and so we can just make 30 minutes available for literature. And as we dive into it, we're going to be looking at certain questions as you can come across in your examination. Now, for the first part of the question, we have on the screen a literary work in which the characters and events are used as symbols is known as A. Characteristics, option B. Allegory, option C. Metaphor, option D. Parallelism. Okay, now you want to ask what is the right answer to this question. Um, let's look at them one after the other. Characteristics. Oh, there's a mistake here. This should be character. I think there's a error, typographical error. It should be character. Okay, because there's no characteristics as a literary term for a fact. So characters are dramatic persona, people who participate in a literary work. Okay, and this is not talking about dramatic personas, okay, actors. Okay, so characters is not the right option for this question. So we move on to allegory. Allegory, as you know, is a literary work that symbolizes events. Okay, symbolizes events with characterization and places. Okay, so I think allegory is more likely to be the correct answer. But if you want to consider other options, metaphor, as you all know, is a figure of speech. Okay, and there's no thing said about figure of speech here. Likewise, parallelism. So we move on to the next question. Hello, Jesus. Hello, hello. Put it here again. Put it here again. Hello. Okay. We seem to be muted. So does that mean that I've not been communicating? Yes, question 3. I still have like 16 minutes. Have you been hearing me? Oh my goodness, I've been talking since. Oh, okay. So what do we do now? Continue, right? I guess so. Okay. Okay, we continue. Okay, guys. Question 3. In a literary work, verbal irony refers to A. A, a device in which the speaker means the opposite of what he says. B. Situation in which a character speaks or acts against the thread of events. C. Difficult situation which defies a local or rational resolution. D. Device in which the author, the actor on stage, means exactly what he says. Now let's look at the options. Option A, device in which the speaker means the opposite of what he says. Okay, we are looking at verbal irony. Now, verbal irony, what's verbal irony if you want to ask? Now, verbal irony has to do with when a speaker means opposite of what they say. And if we look at this option, option A says device in which the speaker means the opposite of what he says. This is most likely to be the correct answer. So without wasting our time, we move on to the fourth question. Now the fourth question says, in theater, words spoken by a character that are meant to be heard by the audience, but not by the other character or characters on stage is called A, an aside, B, a soliloquy, C, acoustic, D, tone. Okay, first, we're looking at dramatic techniques here in this question. So aside, what is an aside? Aside is a situation where an actor on stage says something. It's a kind of monologue actually, okay, in which he intends to say something without the knowledge of fellow actors on stage, but the audience can hear or perceive what he's trying to say. Okay, and so I think aside is most likely to be the correct answer. Soliloquy is a kind of monologue too. However, soliloquy is a situation whereby the character speaks to himself. He doesn't address anybody. He doesn't address the audience. Neither does he address the character. So in a soliloquy, you may not even have other characters on stage. So aside is more likely or most likely the correct answer here. So we move to the fifth question. The fifth question says, drama is representation of a complete series of actions by means of A, is it movement and gestures for the screen and audience? B, is it speech, movement and gesture for the stage only? C, is it speech, movement and gesture for the stage, screen and radio? And D, is it speech, gesture and movement for the screen and radio. Now, if we look at the following options, we can see that they seem to be similar. However, if we look at option C seems to be more encompassing in that it says for the stage, the screen, and radio. Okay, drama, as we all know, is actually a dialogue or a kind of a play. A drama could be on a stage, it could be on a screen, it could be on a radio. Okay, so which one addresses this more correctly? Option C, we can see, captures this sense. So we move on to the sixth one. Now the sixth one is a poet's use of regular rhythm is known as A, is he an allegory? B, is he an assonance? C, is he meter? D, is he onomatopoeia? Now we're looking at rhythm. Rhythm is a poetic technique, okay? It's a poetic element, okay? So when we talk about rhythm, we are looking at the regular, the regular patterning, okay, of speech in a poem or poetry, okay? So if we look at allegory has nothing to do in this place, okay? So we move to assonance. Assonance is a figure of speech, and we are talking about rhythm here. So assonance is out of it as well. What is meter? Meter is more or less a regular rhythm in which a poem, relates is poetry. Okay, so meter in this situation captures this sense. Onomatopoeia is a figure of speech, so meter is the correct answer. We move to the seventh one, a literary genre which directly imitates human actions is called what? A literary genre which directly imitates human actions. Okay, this is about the most simple or simplest of all the questions we've been saying. Okay, which genre of literature? We have three genres, namely prose, poetry, and drama. Which one do you think portrays human actions? Without thinking twice, you can't say it's poetry. Poetry is recited or read. Prose is also read. Prose is like your novels, okay? Comedy, yes, comedy seems likely, but then comedy is a kind of drama. So it's a subgenre of drama. So drama is the right answer to this question. So we move on to the eighth question. A fable is a story in which allegations are made about characters. B, animals or things are used as characters. C, there is an important setting. The story is told in poetic form. Okay. Now, what is a fable? A fable is a literary work that uses animal characterization or thing to symbolize an event. Okay, and so which of these options captures the sense? A seems to be the correct one. Allegations, oh no. A is wrong. Animals or things, yes. B is the right one. So we move on to the ninth question. So the ninth question, the juxtaposition of two contrasting ideas in a line of poetry is called what? What is juxtaposition? Juxtaposition is placing two things side by side in order to compare or contrast. Now we're looking at contrast, okay? So in a line or in a sentence or statement, when you have two contrasting ideas, okay, we call it something. It can be euphemism. Euphemism is a figure of speech that uses, something suitable to describe something unsuitable. Okay, synecdoche is a figure of speech that uses a part to represent a whole. Then catharsis is a dramatic element, so it has nothing to do here because this is a question of figure of speech. So oxymoron, yes, oxymoron captures the sense. Oxymoron is placing two opposite words side by side. Now let's also note that we can have this kind of option or question in paradox. Paradox and oxymoron, they seem very similar. Okay, you can say the painful, joyful tears. Yes, joyful tears is more likely. So joyful tears is two opposite ideas side by side. It's oxymoron. Or in a situation whereby you say this, for instance, the son is the father of the man. That's a paradox. Okay, you don't have oppositeness side by side, but you have it in statements, in phrases or clauses. Okay, so that is that. Now the 10th one, the main aim of caricature is to what? Okay, caricature, as you all know, is more or less like cartoons, okay, that is meant to depict someone humorously in order to satirize. I don't know if you're familiar with the term satire, okay? So if you look at the options here, A, describe, B, expose, C, emphasize, and D, ridicule. Okay, ridicule. Sorry. Now, if you remember what I said about satire, satire is a literary work that is, or literary technique that is used to ridicule, criticize, and then correct a heel. Okay, so D is our answer. Without wasting our time, we move to question 11. I think we are heading home. Okay, okay, this is question 31 because we have to skip question 11 to 30 because it's set on the past syllabus as we don't have something to represent that. So we move on. The lines, okay, this is an excerpt actually. So an excerpt, for those of us that don't know what an excerpt is an extract from a larger body of work. It could be a poem, it could be a drama, it could be prose, okay? So it would be something that is taken from a larger body of work. So if we look at this, we'll see that this is poetry without being, without mincing words, okay? I wonder how long you awful parasites shall share with me this little bird and awake me from my sweet dreams in lust, sucking blood from my poor head. Okay, now this is taken from To Bedbug by Mburi. Okay, so the questions now. The lines are an example of A, is it a limerick? B, is it a lampoon? C, is it a light verse? D, is it a light opera? Now, let's look at them. Limerick is a kind of poem, okay, that is written in 5 lines. Okay, so if we look at this, we'll see that it's a 5-line poem, even though there is enjambment and all of that. Run-on lines, you know what enjambment is. So this is a very good example of a limerick. So A is the answer. Question 32 now. I think that is missing from our screen. Let me see if I can check it up on my other device. Okay, I'm there. Question 32. Sorry for that delay. The poet's persona expresses dismay about, is it about a bat? Is it cockroaches? Is it grasshoppers? Is it light opera? Okay, this is a very direct question. Okay, if you look at the lines of the poem, we can see that there's an allusion or there's a mention of parasite there. Okay, and it is about a parasite that worries when you sleep. Okay, if you look at all this, you cannot say it's a bat, neither can you say it's grasshopper or light opera. So cockroaches seems to be the closest answer here. So we choose cockroaches. All right. Now, question 33. The most dominant figure of speech in the excerpts is it metaphor? Is it simile? Is it personification? Is it an hyperbole? Now, before I choose the answer, we know that this is a question of figure of speech, and for those of us that are familiar with our figures of speech, we'll know that metaphor and simile are very similar. Okay, metaphor uses direct comparison, whereas simile uses as or like in making comparison. Okay, when you, for instance, when you say Shola is a hare in the field, that means Shola can run very well. Comparing Shola to a hare that we know that can, or cheetah. Okay, if some of us don't know the animal that is called an hare. Okay, but when you say Shola is like a cheetah when it comes to running, okay, you see there is a use of like. All right, so that is a simile. So in this question, we can see that we have comparison, okay, but it's a direct one. It's not showing. It's not showing. It's not finished. It's not showing. So I had to. Okay, so let's look at this again. There's a comparison, a direct comparison, that use of like or as. So certainly, metaphor is our answer here. So we move on. We can't say personification because personification uses non-human attribute, gives human attribute to non-human attributes. Okay, and hyperbole is an exaggeration, a conscious exaggeration, like saying the man is taller than the skyscraper. Is it possible? Okay, so that is an exaggeration, an hyperbole. Now we look at the next question, which is question 34. Your head is like a drum that is beating for spirits. Your ears are like the fans used for blowing fire. Now the question now, the lines above are a good example of A, is he a caricature? B, is he a ridicule? C, is he a satire? D, is he a lampoon? Okay, so caricature, first off, we know that it's a cartoon work, okay, that is meant to satirize. Okay, so caricature is half of it. Neither is it ridicule, because ridicule is meant to, ridicule someone, okay, in a bad, portray someone in a bad light. And then satire is more or less, okay, a correction with the use of humor. Okay, so but there's nothing correcting here. There's no correction being made here. All right, lampoon. Yes, lampoon seems like it, because lampoon have something to do with making fun of something, okay, by expression. Now we move to the 35th question. How can I look at Oyo and say I hate long shiny cars? How can I come to the children and despise international schools? And Kumson comes and the family submit Jesus Christ in it. Okay, the dominant mood in the lines above is it a one of apprehension? Is it one of defiance? Is it one of joy? Oh, I think I'm picking the wrong options. Okay, I take that again. The feeling conveyed by the speaker above is one of, okay, is it anger? Is it alienation? Is it hope? Is it despair? Okay, now if we look at that excerpt, we can see that it is more or less talking about, hopelessness. So it is not hope, certainly. So despair, it can be alienation, because he's saying, he's making a kind of relatedness to a particular thing here, or all right. So despair is the right option above. Now, question 36. Hide me now when night children haunts the earth. This is from Wole Soyinka Nights. Okay, night children. In the stanza above reflects, night children in the stanza above reflects the consciousness of, is it birds? Is it armed robber? Is it animals? Is it spirit beings? Certainly, we can't say it's birds. Okay? What happened in night? Nocturnal activities. Okay? Is it armed robbers? Yes, more likely, or most likely, armed robbers. Spirit beings. So Inka is not talking about spirit beings here. Hide me now when night children owns the earth. He's using metaphor to refer to armed robbers, people that carry out nocturnal activities. All right, we move to 37. 37, serrated shadows through dark leaves till bathed in warm suffusions of your dark selves, sensation pained me, faceless, silent as night thieves, still on night, by Wale Soyinka. The dominant mood in the lines above is one of, is it apprehension? Is it defiance? Is it joy? Is it indifference? Okay, let's look at the excerpt again. Serrated shadows through dark leaves, till bathed in warm suffusion of your dark selves, sensation pained me, faceless, silent as night thieves. Certainly it cannot be defiance, neither can it be joy nor indifference. Apprehension is most likely, because apprehension, when you have a feeling or a mood of apprehension, you are filled with fright, okay, fear, a certain fearfulness overshadows or overcomes you. All right, so we move to question 38. The drum overwhelmed the guns. This is from J.P. Clark Casualties. The drum overwhelmed the guns. The poet in the excerpt above uses is it litotes or litotes? Is it symbolism? Is it onomatopoeia? Is it alliteration? Okay, this is a figure of speech question. Okay, litotes, as you all know, is like the direct opposite of hyperbole. Okay, because it is an understatement, wherein hyperbole is an overstatement, litotes is an understatement. Okay, and the understatement uses negative concepts to suggest meanings. Okay, but here we are not looking at any oppositeness. Now let's move on. Symbolism. Yes, symbolism is more like it. Why? Because drum here and gun here is making a representation of something. Okay, so symbolism is more or most likely the answer. And if we look at the context of the excerpt, you can see that Casualty by J.P. Clark is a poem that has a stigmatization on war, the Civil War, precisely, the Nigerian Civil War. I believe we are familiar with that. All right, so drum and guns is a symbolization or symbolism for soldiers and the chanters of the war songs. All right, then we move to question 39. They do not see the funeral pyres at home eating up the forest. This is still on Casualty. Okay, this is a question on imagery. The imagery created in the above uses, is it a metaphor? Is it a metaphor? Is it personification? Is it synecdoche? Is it metonymy? Okay, as we all know, metaphor is a direct comparison. Let's look at the lines again and see if there is a comparison made. They do not see the funeral pyres at home eating up the forest. Surely there's a comparison here. Okay, there's no personification. Personification is when a non-human, like I said earlier, non-human entity uses human features. Okay, and then synecdoche and metonymy are representation, using a whole to represent a part, or a part to represent a whole. That is synecdoche. Metonymy uses a symbol to represent something. Okay, now we are moving to the last question now. I cannot rest from travel. I will drink life to the last. All times I have enjoyed greatly, I've suffered greatly. This is from Alfred Lord Tennyson's Ulysses. Okay, this is an excerpt from a classical work. Ulysses is a novel, a classical novel. Okay, the lines above inform the reader that the poet is determined to suffer. Is it has his poetic imagination kindled? C, is it we cure his sore mood? D, is it we not drink much? Okay, certainly this is a question of connotation. It's not, it shouldn't be looked at face value. It's a connotative question. So does it connote suffering, as option A has said? Has his poetic imagination good? We cure his sore mood? We not drink much. Let's look at the excerpt again. I cannot rest from travel. I will drink life to the least. All times I have enjoyed greatly, have suffered greatly. Okay? Determined to suffer, it can't be correct. Okay? Has his poetic imagination kindled? More likely. Okay, C, we cure his sore mood. Okay, I think C is the right answer here, because neither of these portray the poet's mood than the C, option C has done here. We cure his sore mood. Okay, this is the end of today's session. I believe you enjoyed the class, even though we were unable to, display all the questions as we should have done. Okay, these are technical issues. All right, we come to the end of today's class, and I hope to see you again in our next session. Enjoy yourselves. Do have a lovely day. Thank you.